John Farnham. John Peter Farnham AO, born 1 July 1949, is a British-born Australian singer. Farnham was a teen pop idol from 1967 until 1979, billed then as Johnny Farnham, but has since forged a career as an adult contemporary singer. His career has mostly been as a solo artist, although he replaced Glenn Shorrock as lead singer of Little River Band from 1982 to 1985. In September 1986, his solo single You're the Voice peaked at #1 on the Australian singles charts. The associated album, Whispering Jack, held the #1 position for a total of 25 weeks and is the second highest-selling album in Australian history. Both the single and the album had top 10 success internationally, including #1 in Sweden. Farnham has become one of his country's best-known and most popular performers, and he is the only Australian artist to have a #1 record in 5 consecutive decades, echoing that of Sir Cliff Richard in the UK with singles Sadie the Cleaning Lady in 1967, Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head in 1970, and Age of Reason in 1988, along with touring with numerous artists, including The Seekers and international acts like Stevie Nicks and Lionel Richie. He released collaborative albums including with Tom Jones on Together in Concert 2005 and Olivia Newton John, including highlights from The Main Event 1998, also with Anthony Warlow, Two Strong Hearts. Farnham has been recognized by many honors and awards, including 1987 Australian of the Year, 1996 Officer of the Order of Australia, and 19 ARIA Awards, including his 2003 induction into the Hall of Fame. From 1969, he was voted by TV Week readers as the King of Pop for 5 consecutive years. Aside from his recording career, Farnham performed on stage with lead roles in Australian productions of Charlie Girl, Pippin, and 1992's Jesus Christ Superstar. He starred in his own TV series and specials, including It's Magic with Colleen Hewett, Bobby Dazzler, and Farnham and Byrne with Debra Byrne, and as a guest on numerous other popular shows such as The Don Lane Show, Countdown, and Hey Hey It's Saturday. Australian rock historian Ian McFarlane described him as the most successful solo artist in the history of Australian rock and pop. Early life. John Peter Farnham was born in Dagenham, England, on 1 July 1949, to John Peter Farnham Sr. and Rosemary Pemberton Farnham. His sisters are Jean and Jacqueline, and his younger brother is Stephen. Farnham spent his first 10 years in the United Kingdom before his family emigrated to Australia in 1959 to live in Melbourne, Victoria. He attended school at Yarraman Park State School, now Yarraman Oaks Primary School, Lindale Primary School, and Lindale High School. Musical career. 1964-67, The Mavericks to Strings Unlimited. As Johnny Farnham, he performed with local band The Mavericks on weekends while still attending school from 1964. The band had a 5-song repertoire. In late 1965, he was asked to join band Strings Unlimited as lead singer. It was a band composed entirely of string-only instruments, and they had a regular booking at a local hotel. In 1966, after making the state finals of the Hoadley's Battle of the Sounds, they recorded a 3-track demo tape with Farnham on vocals, Stuart Mayle on lead guitar, Barry Roy on rhythm guitar, Mike Phonander on keyboards, Joe Sincata on bass, and Peter Foggy on drums. On 29 April 1967, Strings Unlimited performed as a backing band for pop singer Bev Harrell in Kohana. Harrell's manager and then boyfriend, Daryl Sambell, was impressed with Farnham's vocals and offered to become his manager. Initially performing in Sambell's hometown of Adelaide, Farnham recorded a light advertising jingle Susan Jones for flight company Ansett A&A and was offered a solo record contract working with EMI under house producer David Mackay. 1967-79, Teen Pop Idol. Farnham's first commercially successful recording was a cover of British novelty song Sadie the Cleaning Lady, Sambell had disliked it, as the lyrics were so persistent. However, EMI in-house producer David McKay insisted, and so the single was released in November 1967. The B-side, In My Room, was written by Farnham. By arrangement with Sambell, Melbourne radio DJ Stan Rofe pretended that he disliked Sadie before playing it. The song gave Farnham recognition in Australia. Rofe continued the ploy on TV Uptight, and viewers responded with calls to play the song. It hit No. 1 on the Australian singles charts in January 1968 and remained there for 6 weeks. Selling 180,000 copies in Australia, Sadie was the highest-selling single by an Australian artist of the decade and became the biggest-selling single in Australia at that time. Rofe was a writer for Go Set, a teen-oriented pop magazine. Another writer for the magazine, Ian Molly Meldrum, praised Farnham's efforts. Go Set ran a pop poll to determine the King of Pop, which was first won by Normie Rowe for 1967-1968. Farnham's 1968 singles were Underneath the Arches and I Don't Want to Love You each peaked at #6. In 1969, Farnham released his album Everybody Oughta Sing a Song, which peaked at number 12 on the Australian albums charts. His next single was a cover of Harry Nilsson's one. Farnham's version peaked at #4. When TV Week sponsored the King of Pop Awards, readers would forward their votes from coupons. Farnham won the Most Popular Male award and was crowned King of Pop 5 consecutive times from 1969 to 1973. He recorded a cover of the B.J. Thomas hit Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head, which became his second No. 1 hit in December 1969 and remained at top spot for 7 weeks into January 1970. Farnham's next album, Looking Through a Tear, was released in July 1970 and peaked at #11. Comic Conversations, his single from October, peaked at #10. During 1971, Farnham teamed up with Alison Durbin, who had been chosen as Most Popular Female Performer at the King of Pop Awards for 1969-71. They released an album together in September and a single, Baby, Without You. In November, both peaked into the top 30 of their respective charts. As well as his singing career, Farnham performed in stage musicals, starting with Dick Whittington and His Cat in 1971, and on television variety shows either as a guest performer or as a host. At 22, Farnham was appointed King of Moomba in 1972, with Melbourne paper The Sun describing him as a likable English migrant who is King of Pop, King of Kids, and today Johnny Farnham was King of Moomba. In 1972, Farnham had a top 5 national hit with a cover version of the title track from the David Cassidy international hit album, Rock Me Baby. Another stage musical for Farnham was Charlie Girl in 1971. Gillian Billman was one of the dancers, and Farnham married her on 18 April 1973. Meldrum announced their wedding plans in Go Set, but Sambell denied the early reports and, despite being best man at the wedding, was against Billman marrying Farnham. The clean-cut pop star had made several more albums and singles, but by the mid-1970s, his recording career had begun to dwindle, and he turned more to stage musicals and television. Farnham and Queen of Pop for 1972-1973, Colleen Hewett combined on the 1973-74 stage musical Pippin and its associated show album released in 1974. Also in 1974, Farnham and Hewett were co-hosts of It's Magic, a children's TV series on Channel 10. He became familiar to viewers of Countdown when hosting its first color transmission in early 1975 and introducing Skyhook's performance of Horror Movie. Relations with Sambell became strained, and in January 1976, they announced their split. Farnham first turned to Ken Brodziak, producer of Pippin, for his management during 1976-78, and then to Danny Finley, Hewitt's then husband, from 1978. Farnham starred in a situation comedy series Bobby Dazzler as the title character during 1977-78 and narrated documentaries including Survival with Johnny Farnham. Farnham was in financial trouble with unpaid taxes and the collapse of a restaurant venture with Hewett and Finley. Farnham's singing career was now confined to the cabaret circuit and stage musicals. In 1979, he changed his stage name to John Farnham. 1980-85, Little River Band Era and Era. Little River Band Era and Era and Era and Era and Era and Era. Farnham had met Glenn Wheatley, who was bass guitarist of 1960s rock group The Master's Apprentices, when both acts were managed by Sam Bell. Wheatley was now managing Little River Band LRB, and Farnham signed with Wheatley in 1980. They decided his comeback single would be a reworking of the Beatles' Help, which was produced by LRB Graham Gobble. It peaked at #8. Farnham was utilizing a more adult contemporary pop style, and the associated album, Uncovered, also produced by Gobble, peaked at #20. The B-side of Help was another of Farnham's songwriting efforts, Jilly's song, co-written with Gobble. In recording the album, Farnham's studio band were guitarist Tommy Emmanuel x Southern Star Band, keyboardist Mal Logan x Renee Jair Band, LRB, drummer Derek Pelixi LRB, and bass guitarist Barry Sullivan x Chain. They became his tour band until Logan and Pelixi returned to their LRB commitments and were replaced by Sam McNally and David Jones, respectively. In 1980, Farnham also appeared in a TV series entitled Farnham and Byrne with former Young Talent Time teen star and Queen of Pop Debra Byrne. 3 other solo singles followed in 1981, but none of them charted into the top 50. In February 1982, after Glenn Shorrock had departed Little River Band, Farnham became their lead vocalist after recommendations by Gobble and Wheatley. Farnham had initially resisted the idea of joining LRB, but Wheatley convinced him that Shorrock approved of the replacement. This continued Farnham's move away from cabaret and into rock music. With Farnham, Little River Band recorded 3 studio albums, which had modest success, but it was not enough to pay back the advances the record company had provided. The first studio album, The Net, was already written, and Farnham had no say in the songs. He just had to record his lead vocals. In the U.S. charting albums with Farnham's vocals included Greatest Hits 1982, The Net 1983, and Playing to Win 1984 on Billboard Pop Albums chart/Billboard 200. While charting singles were The Other Guy, We Too, You're Driving Me Out of My Mind, and Playing to Win. Farnham's biggest Australian hits with LRB were the 1982 single Down on the Border, which peaked at number 7, and The Net, which peaked at number 11 on the album's charts in 1983. During this time, Farnham started supplying vocal tracks for films, including Savage Streets 1984, The Slugger's Wife 1985, and Fletch 1985. He later continued with Rad 1986 and Voyage of the Rock Aliens 1987. Justice for One was co-written by Farnham for Savage Streets, and it was released as a solo single. Little River Band recorded a concert in Melbourne that aired in the United States on HBO. The concert video was only 1 hour long, and it highlighted some of the songs from The Net as well as reworked versions of Little River Band classics such as Cool Change and Reminiscing. Please Don't Ask Me, a song written by Gobble, and a non-top 50 single for Farnham almost 3 years previously, was played during the Australian-themed opening of the show. Despite positive Australian and U.S. reviews and responses, this performance has not yet been released on VHS or DVD. In an interview with Channel 7, Farnham stated, "I'll be better off leaving, rather than putting myself under pressure that I've created." Through this matter, it became apparent to the band that Farnham was intending on leaving, and Playing to Win's lead single Playing to Win, a song believed by all to be the band's return to success, then started having authorship disputes. According to Farnham, playing to win was about my frustration in the band, about wanting out, not wanting to be there anymore. There was a bit of infighting, and we were doing it hard on the road. That's what inspired the song. As a result, Farnham's relationship with the band was further sullied. To date, the royalties for the song are meticulously divided with different shares to each of the song's contributors, including Gobble, Farnham, Stephen Houston, David Hirschfelder, and Wayne Nelson. By late 1985, LRB were in conflict again, and Farnham left. In mid-1986, Little River Band released the third studio album, No Rains, but Farnham was already pursuing his solo career. 1986–97, peak solo years. You're the Voice and Whispering Jack. Farnham had started collecting a song list for a future solo album while still in Little River Band. He finished his vocals for their album, No Rains, and left in late 1985. Farnham's first solo performances since 1981 were live shows with Brett Garst on lead guitar, Sam C. on guitar, Derek Pelixi on drums, Bruno Di Stanislau on electric bass and vocals. Sound engineer Ross Fraser suggested to Farnham's manager Glenn Wheatley that it was time to start working on the solo album. Wheatley searched vainly for a producer and record label willing to work with Farnham. Fraser took on the producer role, and Wheatley provided financial support after mortgaging his house. While visiting a jazz club in the U.S., Farnham was mistakenly introduced as Jack Phantom, and when he subsequently provided a running commentary for a local pool game, he named himself Whispering Jack Phantom, after the pot-black commentator, Whispering Ted Lowe. His work for the album, Whispering Jack, included expanding his song list with Fraser's advice. A Touch of Paradise was written by Gulliver Smith and Mondo Rock's Ross Wilson, while Pressure Down was provided by Harry Bogdanovs. 2 weeks before the album was due to be recorded, a demo tape arrived from London with similar material as Pressure Down. Farnham and Fraser listened to the demo of You're the Voice and knew they had found a once-in-a-lifetime song. Another song on offer was We Built This City, but Farnham knocked it back, so it was later recorded by U.S. band Starship. Initially, public interest in the rebranded former teen idol was difficult to cultivate, and radio stations refused to play Farnham's album. Things, however, started to change after Sydney radio station 2Day FM played its first single, You're the Voice, which was released in September 1986. Henceforth, radio stations began receiving requests for the song. Its television debut was on Hey Hey It's Saturday, with Skyhook's Greg McCange providing bass guitar. You're the Voice peaked at number 1 in Germany, Sweden, and Australia, as well as being a top 10 hit in some European countries, #3 in Switzerland, #6 in the UK, and no. The song was written by Andy Quinta ex Icehouse, Keith Reid Procol Harum, Maggie Ryder, and Chris Thompson ex Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Whispering Jack, released in October, became the highest-selling album. As of 2006, it was 24 platinum, indicating sales of over 1.68 million units in Australia alone. The album was released internationally on RCA/BMG and peaked at number 1 in Sweden, No. 3 in Austria, and top 20 in Norway. In August 1988, it returned to the Australian top 10. It also was the first Australian-made music CD released in Australia. Other charting Australian singles were December's Pressure Down, which peaked at number 4, March 1987's Touch of Paradise, and October's Reasons. After the success of the album, Farnham followed with Jack's Back Tour. An initial itinerary of 11 performances was thought to be enough, considering they were up against tours by Michael Jackson and Billy Joel. However, after high ticket sales, it was extended by 8 more shows and made use of larger venues. At that time, Jack's Back Tour was the highest-grossing tour by an Australian act. John Farnham Band now consisted of Garst on lead guitar, David Hirschfelder On keyboards, Little River Band, McAinch on bass, and Angus Birchall on drums. Farnham also had 3 tracks featured on the Rad movie soundtrack released in 1986. Farnham won 6 of the inaugural 1987 ARIA Music Awards for Album of the Year, Single of the Year, Highest-Selling Album, Highest-Selling Single, Best Male Artist, and Best Adult Contemporary Album. On 19 July 1987, TV series Countdown broadcast its last show, the 1986 Countdown Music and Video Awards, with Farnham winning the Best Album Award for Whispering Jack. In 1988, Australia's bicentennial year, Farnham was named 1987 Australian of the Year, although he was not yet naturalised. A hastily organised swearing-in occurred before the honour was bestowed. He was chosen due to his outstanding contribution to the Australian music industry over 20 years. Age of Reason and Chain Reaction. Farnham's July 1988 single, Age of Reason, which peaked at #1 on the ARIA singles charts, was written by Johanna Piggott and Dragon member Todd Hunter. The album, Age of Reason, produced by Ross Fraser, debuted at #1 in August. It was the highest-selling album in Australia from 1988, and as of 1997, it was 11th platinum, indicating sales of over 770,000 units. Renewed interest in Whispering Jack returned it to the top 10 in August. To date, Age of Reason remains Farnham's last #1 Australian single. Other charting singles from this album were Two Strong Hearts, which peaked at #6, and Beyond the Call. Age of Reason had international success, peaking at #4 in Sweden and No. 9 in Norway. At the 1988 ARIA Awards, Farnham won Best Male Artist, Best Adult Contemporary Album for Touch of Paradise, and the Outstanding Achievement Award. In March 1989, Farnham was in Moscow, USSR, to promote Greenpeace album Rainbow Warriors as part of an international ensemble including David Byrne, Talking Heads, Peter Gabriel, Chrissy Hind, The Pretenders, Annie Lennox, Eurythmics, and The Edge at Woe. Farnham found time to record a duet with Daniel Gaha, Communication, which peaked at #13 in August 1989. It was recorded as part promotion for the Australian government's program to control the drug epidemic happening in the mid-80s, entitled The Drug Offensive. The Drug Offensive logo can be seen attached to a television camera in the video clip made to promote the song. Chain Reaction, produced by Fraser, was released in October 1990 and also debuted at #1 on the Australian album charts. It provided 3 top 10 hit singles: Chain Reaction in August, That's Freedom in September, and Burn for You in December. Unlike the previous 2 albums, where most songs were written by outside writers, Chain Reaction saw Farnham write 9 of its 12 tracks with Fraser and keyboardist/musical director David Hirschfelder, Little River Band, along with Phil Buckle, Burn for You, and Joe Crichton, The Time Has Come. The sound was less electronic and more acoustic. It became the biggest-selling album in Australia for 1990 and was #1 on the ARIA end-of-year album chart. At the 1991 ARIA Awards, Farnham won Best Male Artist, Song of the Year for Burn for You, and Highest-Selling Album for Chain Reaction. Full House to Anthology. Farnham's live album, released in November 1991, was Full House, produced by Ross Fraser and Farnham, which peaked at #2 on the ARIA album charts. It contained concert material recorded from May 1987 to October 1990. Please Don't Ask Me was released as a single, which peaked into the top 30. At #1 on the ARIA album charts was Jimmy Barnes' album. In August 1992, Farnham joined the Australian production of Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber's stage musical Jesus Christ Superstar in the title role of Jesus. Fellow cast members included Angry Anderson as Herod, Kate Severano as Mary Magdalene, Russell Morris as Simon Zelotes, John Stevens as Judas, and John Waters as Pontius Pilate. The stage soundtrack, Jesus Christ Superstar. The album provided the single Everything's Alright by Severano, Farnham and Stevens, which peaked at number 6 in September. Farnham released his next studio album, Then Again, in October 1993, produced by Fraser Farnham, which peaked at number 1. Of its 4 singles only, Seemed Like a Good Idea at the time reached the top 20. The album won highest-selling album at the ARIA Awards in 1994. Farnham never really wanted to try his luck overseas, even though he had offers. In a TV Week interview promoting the Romeo's Heart album, he said that people had put pressure on him to live overseas, but he had no intention of doing so. "I don't want to go to America to live," he said. He went on to say the pressures for him to relocate come mainly from other people, but his manager, Glenn Wheatley, has never put this pressure on him. On Australia Day 26 January 1996, Farnham was made an Officer of the Order of Australia in recognition of service to the Australian music industry and to charitable and community organisations, particularly those relating to youth. His single, Have a Little Faith in Us, in March peaked at number 3. The associated album, Romeo's Heart, produced by Fraser, was released in June and peaked at number 2 and won Best Adult Contemporary Album at the ARIA Awards in 1996. Farnham collaborated with vocal group Human Nature to record Every Time You Cry, which peaked at number 3 on the singles charts in October 1997. Also in 1997, he released a series of 3 compilation albums: Anthology 1, Greatest Hits 1986-1997, Anthology 2, Classic Hits 1967-1985 recorded live, and Anthology 3, Rarities, which all peaked in the top 20, with Anthology 1 reaching #1. 1998 present. The main event with Olivia Newton John and Anthony Warlow. For the main event tour during October-December 1998, Farnham performed with Olivia Newton John and Anthony Warlow. The album Highlights from the main event peaked at number 1 in December, sold Forks Platinum, and won highest-selling album at the 1999 ARIA Awards. The main event concert was broadcast on national TV and released on video. During April-May 1999, Farnham undertook the I Can't Believe He's 50 tour, supported by Merrill Bainbridge, Kate Ceberano, Human Nature, James Rain, Ross Wilson, and Nana Jami, containing his son, Robert Farnham. Live at the Regent, recorded on 1 July 1999, Farnham's 50th birthday, was released in September and peaked at #7. On 21 December, Farnham performed a set for the Tour of Duty concert in Dili for the Australian troops serving with Inter-Fleet and East Timor's people. The concert included James Blundell, Dili All-Stars, Gina Jeffries, The Living End, Kylie Minogue, Doc Neeson, and the RMC Band. Tour of Duty was the first of Farnham's concerts to be webcast. For the 2000 Summer Olympics, Farnham and Newton John performed Dare to Dream during the Parade of Nations at the opening ceremony. Broadcast of the ceremony was viewed by an estimated 3.5 billion people around the world. Farnham appeared as himself in the final episode of the Australian television series The Games 2000. The Last Time to Tom Jones. I remember when I was young. I remember when I was young. Songs from the Great Australian Songbook was released in November 2005. It contains 13 covers of hits written and performed by Australian artists, which peaked at number 2 on the ARIA Albums charts. In February 2006, Farnham performed 4 shows at the Sydney Opera House, with the Sydney Symphony, followed by shows at the Victorian Arts Centre's Hamer Hall, Melbourne. These shows were sponsored by dairy farmers, and a percentage of revenue received from the I Remember When I Was Young concerts went to the Dairy Farmers Creating Greener Pastures program to help farmers and their communities. A 2006 DVD of Farnham, entitled John Farnham, with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra was released. It debuted at number 2 on the ARIA DVD charts and then peaked at #1. From 18 February, Farnham embarked on a small Australian tour with Fleetwood Mac singer Stevie Nicks for a series of live shows. Both artists had equal billing but, unlike the Tom Jones shows, they did not sing together but individually. The same backup singers from the tour, however, were used by both Nicks and Farnham. On 26 March, Farnham sang at the 2006 Commonwealth Games closing ceremony in Melbourne, starting with his hit Age of Reason, followed by I Remember When I Was Young from his most recent studio album, Playing to Win from his Little River Band days, and finished with his anthem song, You're the Voice. The 20th anniversary of Whispering Jack in 2006 was marked by an enhanced commemorative CD re-release plus a DVD featuring an edited version of the tour that accompanied the album. The full concert was The original album was the first CD made in Australia and, as of June 2008, remains the highest-selling album in Australia by an Australian act. Jack and the Acoustic Chapel Sessions. On 27 May 2009, Farnham announced a new concert tour for September and October, John Farnham Live by Demand. A new studio album, Jack, was released by Sony BMG on 15 October 2010. The album contains 11 tracks and is Farnham's first studio album in over 5 years. Jack features covers of compositions by Ray Charles, Curtis Mayfield, and Percy Sledge. The release of Jack coincides with a run of indoor and outdoor performances under the title of John Farnham Live throughout October and November 2010. On 8 June 2011, it was announced that Farnham intended to embark on a nationwide tour of Australia. In addition to this, the Whispering Jack live video album was edited down by 20 minutes and re-released on DVD by Sony BMG. On 30 September 2011, Farnham released the Acoustic Chapel Sessions live album, recorded in Melbourne in July 2011 at Chapel Off Chapel. The album was released as a CD and DVD 2-disc set by Sony BMG. The CD contains 11 previously released Farnham songs recorded acoustically, while the DVD includes 8 songs plus interviews with Farnham and the band as well as additional behind-the-scenes footage. Olympics, the Seekers and Olivia Newton John tours. On 27 July 2012, Farnham performed live for the Australian Olympic team in London during the lead-up to the 2012 Olympic Games. He performed a number of his best-known songs, including Playing to Win, Pressure Down, and You're the Voice. He appeared in a special one-off show with the Seekers in 2014 as part of the Decades Festival commemorating the music, fashion, and cars of specific era and coinciding with the Seekers' Golden Jubilee year. In 2015, Farnham joined Olivia Newton John on stage with a concert tour entitled Two Strong Hearts Live. An album was released in June 2015 and debuted at number 1. Unauthorized music use. In 2015, Farnham and Wheatley spoke out against the use of his iconic signature song, You're the Voice, being used by Reclaim Australia, an anti-Islamic group, and again in 2020 in regard to its use at anti-lockdown rallies during the Stage 4 COVID-19 pandemic in Melbourne, Victoria, which Wheatley described as offensive to the band. As of 2020, John Farnham's band members are musical director and keyboardist Chong Lim, Angus Birchall on drums, Brett Garst on guitar, and Craig Newman on bass guitar. Backing vocalists are Lindsay Field, Lisa Edwards, Susie Ahern, and Rod Davies. Previously prominent long-serving members have included Venita Fields and Stuart Fraser from the band Noiseworks, who regularly performed and toured with the band from 1992 until 2018 when his health deteriorated due to lung cancer. He died on 1 December 2019. Personal life. Farnham married Gillian Billman, a dancer he met when performing the stage musical Charlie Girl on 11 April 1973. They have 2 sons, Robert and James. Farnham is a supporter of the North Melbourne Football Club in the Australian Football League. After years of performing at high-volume concerts, Farnham has tinnitus and hearing loss, and wears hearing aids. He lives on a farm near Bendigo, Victoria. Charity. Farnham has supported several charities over the years, including headlining the 2019 Hey Mate series of concert for Australia's farming community, which raised over $4.4 million. Selected discography. Awards and nominations. Farnham has won and been nominated for numerous Australian music and entertainment awards. These include 21 ARIA Awards from 60 nominations, including his induction into their Hall of Fame. Others are Countdown Music and Video Awards, Mo Awards, and TV Week, Magazine's King of Pop Awards, and their Logie Awards. In 2015, Farnham, along with AC/DC, Newton John, The Seekers, and Indigenous Australian artist Archie Roach, was inducted into the Music Victoria Hall of Fame.